Getting feedback from a client is super crucial to coming back and rounding out the work and being really effective. And I had a project manager I worked with once who said, if you can define how much more revenue you could create by making the logo bigger, he'd make it happen.
I think it's important as you think about ideas and how to give feedback, to also always bear in mind what is it we're solving for. Does this idea and do the executions that come out of the idea help us actually solve for something at the brand level and the business level? That way it really does help mitigate against some of the subjectivity that creeps into the conversation.
The most effective feedback we can get is how does it align back to the strategy, and why is it on and why is it not on?
One thing that we really do enjoy doing after we show our work is to actually hear everyone's point of view, or to hear their feedback. It helps us to learn what we want to do to revise, and it really helps us to understand their thinking, and it's a good conversation for us.
Another thing which is important in providing feedback, ideally the ones who will provide that feedback will be the ones who actually briefed the campaign, because again they will have the criteria, they will have the scope of the brief, they will know what was asked of the agency. Sometimes we're in a situation where other people will provide the feedback who are not completely aware of the brief, and that is not always as useful.
I like when it's a little more conversational. And I think that a lot of times good comments, when good comments are made, it starts a conversation and the work actually kind of gets better.
In my opinion, you can always make things better, talking things out, trying to find other solutions to problems.
Even if it's like bad examples, we're still trying to figure out what a solution might be and how the work might get better.
Forget that you're a client, just be a person. Just react from your gut, from your heart, just, from whatever you're feeling. That's really helpful.
What I would say as a human being to my clients, which are human beings, is provide a very human response to the work, to the idea at the core of the work. Does it move you? Does it make you cry? Does it make you laugh? Does it make you wonder? Does it make you want to know more? That goes well beyond the response of a marketeer, because ultimately these ideas are going to be transmitted to and are going to intersect human beings. And they have to work on a human level. And so fundamentally what I think we're all looking for is a very human response from our clients to those ideas.
I think you, by sitting down and having a face-to-face discussion versus trying to translate something on your own via email and then sending back and forth questions, or even if you pick up the phone, but by sitting down and maybe looking at past examples or really sitting down and asking questions that you hadn't maybe thought of, or having more of a discussion about it that happens organically, more things are going to come out of that, which allows you to explore how far our teams are willing to take it or where we're comfortable taking a certain project, whether that's an entire marketing plan or designing a mobile tour bus or environment.
I think in general we like to hear it in person rather than over an email, because email is so open to misinterpretation, and really being able to have a dialogue with our clients is very helpful to us, so that if there's something that they didn't understand, we can explain back, and we can sometimes offer solutions right on the spot that may solve a problem rather than going back and forth with 6 emails.
I think what I wish they wouldn't do is the copy that's in the brief does not have to be verbatim in the ad. That would be the main thing. Just because it's written a certain way in the brief does not have to actually appear in the ad. And also checking boxes. I feel it's like, oh, does it do this? Does it do this? Does it do this? I don't know. I think when you get too mechanical about what you're expecting, sometimes it takes away from some of the craft and the fun and the surprise of an ad.
Fran and I always have believed that good ideas come from anywhere, and that includes clients, account people, creatives, everywhere. But sometimes after meetings, when people hand us copy or a visual and they expect to see the exact thing played back, it becomes more difficult for us, because a lot of times we do have space constraints and there are reasons that we do things. So I think it's a lot more helpful if a client will just tell us their strategic goal or the goal in what the changes are, rather than specifically the words that they would like to use.
I think the industry term is called armchair art directing, and it happens. And I'll be the first person again. I love to collaborate. I love to bring in my client to help me, figure out that solution to any of one of their our problems or opportunities. But the only thing that's ever kind of eroded at that core has always been armchair art directing or over art directing from the client side. Not to say that we don't welcome their comments, but I think also then what I would ask in return is just the flexibility for them to also think outside of their boundaries.
I mean, for me, it's just honesty.
Candor.
Honesty, candor, right?
Just go with the gut.
Go with
gut
your
don't
gut.
lie.
I think that it's. I can't imagine being a client. I mean, I can, right? I think as you evolve as a creative director, you sort of realize that, you just have to be kind of blunt and honest, with the work that you're seeing, and that's actually the best thing you can do for a creative.
Whatever the product is, obviously the client knows a lot about, so I think there's a lot, you can learn a lot, but it needs to come from, honest direct feedback is good. And I know it sounds obvious, but sometimes it isn't.
I would love for clients to see me more as a partner. I think that, when we work together and collaborate, and when clients feel that they can share information with me and I can work with them and be honest with them, the ultimate goal or the ultimate outcome is so much better than if we had held back or if we hadn't worked as closely together on a certain project.
When clients are actually a true partner, when they give us the right information and they understand how the rest of their team wants to receive information, that's immensely helpful because that can make or break launching good creative work.
I personally think that, a relationship outside the office helps the relationship inside the office. Social events, always fun. Everyone loves that. FaceTime, it's FaceTime in general. So not having that, you tend, I believe, you get disconnected a little bit. So it's all about kind of maintaining and harboring that good relationship that can only be done through, face-to-face.
I think I love it when clients admit fault, because I've had a lot of clients that, are unable to do that. I had a client recently just say, you know what, we fucked up. We have to rebrief you guys. This is all our fault. And it makes doing all that work that didn't even go anywhere so much easier to deal with, and makes you want to partner with them and want to do even better work the next round. I think that's great. I also think it's good for agency people to admit fault too, because we mess up too.
It's a partnership. It's a collective partnership. I mean, we go after brands because we like those brands, and those brands come to us because they like what we do. So it's not a case of who's the boss. It's a case of let's work together to make something great.
But don't harp on what you don't like.
Yeah.
Be honest, but don't
be too mean. We can be tender too.
Tender souls. Tender hearts.